Welcome. Today we're going to be learning how to play the solo cooperative expansion for the Company of Heroes board game. For the purposes of this video, I've spawned my units over here on this side, but typically I'd be spawning on the left panel, but just so that we can save a headache for our video producer, we're just going to be keeping everything here. So to initially set up, you're going to set up the 3 points map. You're going to take all of your cardboard tokens here and set them up by panel. If you're looking for an easier game to get started, you're going to look through and take out all of these veteran units that have a little star up top. Go ahead and take those out if you're looking for an easier experience. We're going to keep them in for this video. You're going to separate. Oh, whoops. Totally making a mess here. That's my bad.
Take some of these out.
All right. You're going to separate out the 2 action decks by type. This is our phase 1 deck that we're going to be starting with. And then this is the phase 2 deck. Go ahead and set this to the side for now. It's going to be coming up later. You're going to select a commander. This is the easiest commander that we have, the Feeble Commander. We recommend this is a good place to start. The commander card is what controls the AI, what decides how many units it spawns, how much CP it spends, and how many rounds you have to win the game. So go ahead and set that right here. And then you're going to, thank you, Chris, take one of our universal markers here and use it as a tracker. It's where the AI starts. So we put this tracker on the first little group of units, and you can see here, let me put this on camera so it's a little bit more visible. The first group of units here is a 2 green units. So we're going to be spawning 2 green units to start off.
Look, I'll be your Vanna White here.
Oh, there you go.
I'll do all the demonstrations for you.
Sure, great. So we're going to spawn 2 green units next to the retreat and reinforce points for the AI. So for the 3 points map, it's over at the 2B, retreat and reinforce points. And you put them and when you're spawning AI units, you put them as close to that retreat and reinforce point as you can while still staying on the back row. So Chris spawned the first one. Yeah, thank you. Spawn the first one on the retreat and reinforce point, and then the next one as close as he could to the retreat and reinforce point. And then alternate back and forth. Okay, so you're probably wondering how the AI is going to be moving its units. So this deck called the AI action deck is how the AI moves. So you're going to be drawing these cards, and on these cards there are different actions. You're going to start at the top left and make your way down.
Just place it.
Yeah, sorry. Can you see that okay? All right, you're going to take one of these cards, and you're going to resolve the actions from top left to bottom right, and each of these actions moves 1 unit. So in this example, we have a yellow retreat action. So you would move 1 yellow unit potentially. Then you'd move on if you still had CP for the round. Move a green victory point action, and then a blue barrage action. And all of these actions are listed out in the AI instruction cards. So each instruction card details how the action is resolved. The first section is used to determine which unit is going to be moved. And then the second section describes where that unit should move to. And we're going to show you some examples here in a second. After the action phase, all of the AI units decide who to attack based on their target selection card. And then finally, during the supply phase, we're going to be spawning more units and progressing the AI. If the AI ever reaches the defeat star before you achieve the requisite number of victory points described on the commander card, then you lose the game. Okay, so let's get into our first movement phase and show you a little bit how movement works. So go ahead and set aside the 6 extra CP that comes with your set with the AI phase 2 action deck over here. I'm going to put this AI CP nice and close here. Okay. So the player always goes first, so I'm going to move my units as I see right there. And now I'm going to resolve the AI's movement. So I draw 1 card. See, it's a Recon Enforce action. And the first action that it has is this yellow control point action. Now note that the AI only has green units out, so it's not going to be able to move any yellow units, so we can move on to the next action. Next action is a blue barrage, but the AI doesn't have any blue units either. So finally we get to a green victory point action. So here is the instruction card for that. So first we're going to select which green unit we're going to move. So we need to select a green unit that's not on a control point. Well, neither of the green units are on a control point, so either of them can move. So if there's more than one unit that fits these criteria, we move down into the priority section that's listed below the numbered line. So we're going to choose the one that is closest to a victory point. So we're going to count out how many hexes each of these are from a victory point. Notice that this guy is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, and this other green unit is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. Okay, so they are both 4 hexes away from a victory point, so we move on to the next priority, which is reading order. Now, reading order comes up a lot. This is the standard English way that you would read a magazine or a book. It's left to right, top to bottom. And the first unit that we get to is then the one that we pick. So Chris has started at the top left. He's moved over. And we get to this unit right here, which is then going to move as close to this victory point as it can, spending 3 CP. So here you go, Chris. You want to just put that on there? Awesome. Now notice if, say for example, that the green unit was right here instead, and we had done that action, right? It would move towards this victory point here, 1, 2. But it would only require 2 CP, so we'd have 1 CP left. So we would continue on doing actions. We would continue on to the next action in the list. In this example, there is no next action. It's reached the last action on the card. So the CP would have been foregone. But we are going to go back to our original movement. All right, and we then discard that card. So now
you draw a new one of these cards for each turn.
For each turn, exactly.
So you'll draw 3 per round.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so now I would continue moving my units. We're probably just going to leave everything there. Let's do one more example. So we have a new action, which is a green control point action. So here is the corresponding instruction card for that. Can you see that okay, John? Great. So we're going to choose a green unit that is not on a player-controlled or neutral control point. Okay, well, we do have 2 units that are not on a controlled or neutral control point, but one of them has spent all of its CP for the round. AI units, regardless of how much CP the AI is spending, potentially up to 5 CP per round.
Sure.
Per turn, thank you. No matter how much CP the AI is spending, each unit is still capped at 3 CP per movement phase. So don't let that confuse you. Okay, so we're going to pick this unit up here, and it is going to move towards the nearest control point that the AI does not control and has no units on, which happens to be right there. So I'm going to give my lovely assistant 2 CP. Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Okay, great. So now we've resolved this green control point action.
You can call me Vanna.
Oh, yeah, great. It's a little weird. And we would move on to the next action, which is the yellow control point. But the AI doesn't have any more units, so we are not going to be able to perform either of these actions. So the AI forgoes 1 CP. All right. I don't have any more movement to do, so let's resolve the AI's last turn by picking up another card. And here we see that we can't do the blue action because the AI has no blue units. We're going to perform a green victory point action yet again. So just for the sake of video, here is that card again. So the only green unit that we can pick is this one, but note that the green victory point wants a unit that is not on a control point, which this unit is. So the AI cannot perform this action and gives up its 3 CP for the turn. Okay, so that is the movement phase. Right now would be when we get into the damage phase, but we're not close enough to see any of that. So next would be the supply phase. So I would capture control points as normal. The AI does as well. So after I have performed my supply phase, collected resources, and purchased units, note that the AI also captures victory points. The AI doesn't actually collect resources. It only captures points to let the algorithms built into the cards know when it should move on, when it should advance the line, things like that. So don't worry about collecting resources for the AI. The only thing that the AI needs to do for its supply phase is progress this little token to the next group of units, which you can see here. Should we show that? see that the next group of units is a 1 yellow unit. So we're going to spawn 1 yellow unit for the AI by putting it right there. So that's the opening round. We're going to skip forward a few rounds and show you a more in-depth damage phase so that you know how combat works. All right, so we've advanced a few rounds. Things are starting to heat up here on 3 points. Chris is really excited to see what happens here. Yeah, hopefully we can prevail against the Wehrmacht horde.
I think you're going to get creamed.
Yeah, probably right. Okay, so the players always start first. We're going to do a new maneuver phase. So I'm going to move my units. I'm going to be playing advanced rules, so I'm going to set up my mortar here into fire mode. And then I'm going to move my Greyhound up. Okay, so we are now in range of an AI unit token. So when we get within 2 hexes, we're going to flip it over. So Chris, you want to reveal that unit for us? All right. So we revealed a veteran grenadier. Now you'll note that the veteran grenadier on the left side has that little arrow. Yep, thank you, Chris, with the AI infantry symbol, the anti-infantry damage symbol next to it. So that means that when that unit is revealed, the unit that reveals it, in this case our Greyhound here, is going to receive 1 point of damage immediately. So if you'll remember from our damage matrix here, can you see that all right, John? The yellow units are resistant to anti-infantry damage. So immediately I'm going to be able to roll a defense die to see whether or not that damage hits me. All right. And I blocked it. So my unit doesn't actually take any damage. And this is an important point when you're playing against the AIs. You're going to want to send in your vehicles to scout out what units are out there because they're resistant to anti-infantry damage. And that's typically what the reveal actions are going to be. Okay, and now I'll just forego my last CP for the round. So let's process the AI. We've moved on to phase 2, which means that we're now using this phase 2 deck, which we've shuffled. And the AI, according to the commander card right here, is now spending 4 CP per turn instead of 3. Okay, so let's reveal a card. All right, so this is the cavalry advance card. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use we're going to process the red victory point. Thank you, Chris. So we're going to select a red unit that is not on or adjacent to a victory point. Okay, so the AI only has 1 red unit and it is adjacent to a victory point. So we do not have to process this action. We move on to the next one, which is a yellow control point. Okay, so let's see that. So we are selecting a yellow unit that is not on a neutral or player controlled point. Okay, the AI has 1 yellow unit, but it is not on a neutral or player controlled point. It's on an AI controlled control point. So we select that unit, and it is going to move towards the nearest control point that the AI does not control. Okay, so let's see which one that is. So the AI doesn't control either of these, and they are both 3 hexes away. So we go down to the priorities, and if either of them is a victory point, that is the one that the yellow unit picks, which happens to be this one. So Chris is going to move that unit. Bam, there's your 2 CP. It's going to move that unit towards the victory point. Now notice that yellow units always spend a speed die first. So no matter what the unit is, every yellow backed unit always moves with a speed die first. So it spends 1 speed die and now reveals. Sorry. All right, so now that we're within 2 of our rifleman squad here, it reveals, and we see that it's a veteran 222 armored car. You can note that the veteran 222 armored car has a reveal action of pinned. So it's going to pin this rifleman squad as soon as it reveals. But because it's moving out to this victory point out over here, and once it gets there, it's now out of range, this pinned is now discarded because the 222 is no longer in range.
So notice as soon as we move out of sight range, these guys immediately flip back over.
Yes.
Which can be bad because now it's going to do another reveal action next time you reveal it.
Yep.
Right?
So you want to stay within, once you've revealed a unit, it's good to keep eyes on it so that it doesn't back out and we don't have to do that again. Okay. So we have a few more CP to spend. So the next thing is a blue barrage action. Okay. So blue barrage is the only ability, the only movement action that blue units have. So we're going to select a blue unit. Because there's 2 of them, we have to go into the priorities. We're going to choose one that's first, that's within 3 hexes of an enemy unit. Neither of those apply to those 2 blue units. So we're going to choose the one that's closest to base, which I believe is that one right there. Great. So we have 2 CP left for the round. So I'm going to give these to Chris. And this unit is going to move towards a hex that is 4 hexes away from an enemy unit. The blue units want to get as close as they have to my unit so that they can attack, because they have range of 4. They're typically mortars and mortar events, things like that. So note that the hex right there that Chris is moving the unit towards, yeah, there you go, is 4 hexes away from 2 of my units. So that's where it's going to stay. Okay, and that is...
And if there was a unit here and a unit way over here, and you kind of had 2 path choices, which one would he take at this point?
You always, whenever there's a question about which path or anything like that, always default to reading order. Now we're going to process the rest of this maneuver phase, and then we're going to show you the damage phase once we move all of our different units. All right, so let's process this damage phase. So first, the player always resolves all of their damage first. So I'm going to have my guys here are going to, they've upgraded to deal an armor piercing. So they're going to attack this Panzer IV and deal 1 point of damage to that Panzer IV, right, like that. And then I'm going to have my Greyhound, which does 2 anti-infantry damage, deal 2 damage to these veteran grenadiers. Note that that veteran grenadier has a little shield upgrade, so we're going to see if it blocks one of the damage that my Greyhound is dealing. It does not, so I got through. All right.
On this guy, if you're playing advanced rules, he would get frontal armor defense.
Yeah, technically that's true. Why don't we see? I didn't get through. All right, no damage to that Panzer IV. All right, and then the last thing I have is my mortar. I'm going to see how much damage I can do to these veteran grenadiers. Looks like I dealt 1 more point of damage. There you go. Wonderful. Okay, so now that we've processed the player's damage, let's look at what the AI does. So the AI has 3 units that can attack. First, we're going to resolve this Panzer IV. Then we're going to resolve these veteran grenadiers. And then, because this blue unit is within 4 hexes of one of my units, it's also going to reveal. So let's do this Panzer IV first. Now we're playing with the advanced rules. So this little targeting arrow, when this Panzer IV is revealed, it points towards the unit according to its target selection, which we're going to explain in a second. So it happens to be pointing right here. It has 2 different attacks. So it has its armor piercing, which is turreted, and it has its anti-infantry damage, which is only in its frontal arc. Let's resolve the easiest one first, which is this frontal-facing anti-infantry damage. So we look here. This target selection card is what determines which unit the AI attacks whenever there's more than one. And it's solely based, it's not based on unit type, it's based on damage type. So this Panzer IV is dealing, for this attack, it's dealing an anti-infantry damage. Now, we're going to see which unit it wants to attack. We're going to see that the unit wants to attack infantry first, obviously, because it's anti-infantry damage. So, are there any infantry that the Panzer IV can attack? Yes. So, it's going to deal that 1 point of damage right here. All right, so now it has 2 armor piercing. Now, so we go down to the 2 armor piercing. See that the armor piercing first wants to attack heavy vehicles. Because there are no heavy vehicles that the Panzer IV can attack, we're going to go on to light vehicles. All right, the Greyhound is a light vehicle. So the Panzer is going to dish out 2 damage to our light vehicle, just like that. All right, let's process these veteran grenadiers. They have a anti-infantry and HE damage. Okay, so we look at anti-infantry. You can see that it is targeting green infantry units first. So it's going to target right here. So let's take, thank you, lay that out. And it's also dealing an HE. So Chris, you want to roll that HE, see how much damage we take. Oh, yeah. Thanks. That's great. All right, so we lost because of Chris's terrible rolling my squad here.
And they already took a damage from this AI.
Exactly.
And normally you assign all the damage simultaneously.
Yeah.
In solo, you can kind of do a little bit more piecemeal.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. We just, and for instruction purposes, we want to resolve it as it goes. So, Okay, great. So let's resolve
Sorry
this.
about that crit.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And
They were going to go down from this guy anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
So actually,
that's
you would
true.
reveal this first.
Mm-hmm. So
At
yeah,
the beginning of the damage phase.
yeah.
Right?
So we'd reveal all of this. So let's resolve this event. So let's pretend that my infantry squad is still alive here. This barrage revealed all the way out here. Now, that is an event. Events are different from units. They're resolved one time, and then they're removed from the board. They represent the enemy AI commander resolving their commander abilities and things like that. They don't represent a unit. They represent an ability that the commander would be doing. Okay, so this barrage... Chris, do you want to pull up the rule book out of the box there for me? Yeah. All of the events are detailed on the back of the solo rule book in detail, so you can go ahead and refer to this whenever you have a question about what an event does. This one, to the unit that revealed it, which in this case, for blue events, it's the unit according to target priority, whatever's closest. So it's going to be this guy, is going to take 2 HE and 1 splash damage. So let's go ahead and resolve that.
And it chooses this one over this one
because of the target selection.
Yeah, HE prefers green.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so let's roll these. Oh my gosh.
That
guy was super dead. All right. So he's dead. Note that there's also a splash damage, which means that there's 1 HE that's going on to this Greyhound as well.
All surrounding.
All surrounding, exactly. So
but you don't roll. It's just an automatic HE hit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
But he rolls a defense.
Yep. So let's see if we're able to block that. We did. All right. So we didn't lose everything.
That's like the best event.
Yeah, it's really, awesome. Really good. Yep. Okay. So that's how you use the target selection. Just remember that it's based on damage type, not by unit type. So whatever damage is being dealt, go ahead and look through here and see where what unit it prefers to attack. So obviously anti-infantry targets infantry first, and then the other types are all listed out right there. Okay. So that's target selection. That's really what you need to know. To end the game, just you are trying to reach, in our example, trying to reach 10 victory points before the AI gets to this defeat star. If you're able to get 10 victory points, you win. You've conquered the Wehrmacht Horde. And if you lose, then you can try an easier commander or look through some of our alternate rules that are listed out in the rulebook to give yourself an easier experience.
On this particular Feeble Commander, we found that if this is your very first game of Company Heroes, you may want to reduce this 10 victory point requirement to 8.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yep.
And I don't think you're going to make it because you only have 4 victory points.
Yeah. So. Not looking great for us. Remember that remember to prioritize victory points, and that the AI, you do not gain any victory points for killing any of their units, but you do gain experience, just like in the core game. And I think that's it. Do you have anything to add, Chris?
No, sorry that we used advanced rules for you. There's some advanced rules that we did, like frontal armor defense, firing arcs, and having to set up. If you're playing basic rules for the first time, don't let that confuse you. You can ignore
just
all of
ignore
those.
That. Exactly. Yep.
And then lastly, there's just so many play modes to this game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to cover. Lastly, do you want to talk to them just a little bit about playing with a human player? Playing with an AI on your team.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so we've added some clarifications to the website, so go ahead and check out. Hopefully we'll have a link below to those. But there's some clarifications on how to use the AI as a teammate, but in summary, the AI is now going to require spotters. These blue units do not require spotters when you're playing with them. When you're playing with them solo, when you're just playing against the AI, they can reveal and attack anybody at any point.
As long as they're within 4.
As long as they're within 4. Yep. But when you're playing with a human player, they require spotters, just like a normal unit would. Additionally, you still gain experience, but when you kill a yellow or a red unit, when you're playing with an AI as a human's teammate, when you kill either a red or a yellow unit, you gain a victory point.
Right, but not green units.
But not green or blue units. Yep. And obviously events don't grant victory points either.
The human player can choose anywhere within the team spawn to spawn the AI units. They don't have to spawn here.
Yep. And then also the humans can choose when to retreat. They can retreat any green-hearted unit. So for example, if Chris was playing with this AI as a teammate, he could choose to retreat these veteran grenadiers back towards the retreat point.
Put a little retreat just during his turn, or
Yep.
at the end of the maneuver phase. Maybe because I didn't want you to be able to get the free experience.
Yeah,
or something
to
like
kill him or to preserve his damage or what have you. So, and I think that wraps it up. So go ahead and check out the website for details on everything we just described there. And thank you for watching. We hope that you have a great experience with the solo cooperative expansion.
If you have any questions, contact us.
Yep, support@badcrowgames.com, or you can join our Discord. It's a great place for you to talk about rules and to discuss and find people to play online.
Yeah, and it's worldwide. So even if we're sleeping, there's guys there waiting to answer your questions.
Yep. So
4 a.m. in the morning, there's somebody there.
Yep. Ask for Marcel.
Yeah, ask for Marcel.
All right,
Thanks,
awesome.
everybody.
Thank you.